then at that point. Issues like health and education were more important. But now, with Brexit and the turmoil and the political uncertainty that will bring, I think people are thinking of Irish unity now. It's changed the conversation in a way that Sinn Féin or the SDLP or nationalist parties could sort of only dream of doing themselves. So it would be deeply ironic if the party to unite Ireland with the DUP.
Yeah, it's nearly like the Sinn Féin are just sitting back, and the whole United Ireland question's on auto drive now because the DUP have just laid the grounds for this discussion to happen. I was at an event hosted by People for Profit on Wednesday night, and it wasn't the most representative of debates, to be honest. There was Tommy McCarney, who was an IRA hunger striker, was there. There was Alex Kane, Amanda Ferguson, and the leader of People for Profit. But things like that, they were saying, that room was full of people, and they were saying that maybe even 10 years ago, they probably would have struggled to fill a room because it was such a fantasy idea of United Ireland happening. I'm
wasn't
still
on the agenda.
I'm a unionist. I'd say a unionist with a small U, but I still think it doesn't make sense at the moment to have United Ireland. But what the DUP have done and what Brexit's done is laid the grounds to actually have the conversation. Something that looked impossible before is now becoming more and more, probable or possible. So, but it's an interesting one as well, because if we're having debates like that, I really think that you should have proper representation. And like I said, there was only Alex Kane there, and Alex is a journalist from a middle class background. He's hardly representing the
and
the
he's
views.
older also. With great respect to him, he is probably not representative of.
He's really interesting, obviously really coherent, and has
a lot of experience.
But he's he can't speak on behalf of
working class loyalism.
Exactly. So somebody had asked the question. They were asking, how does Sinn Féin and nationalist parties get working class loyalists and people in the Shankill and East Belfast, and how do you get them on board for a United Ireland? How do you sell it to them? Because you have Sinn Féin, Sinn Féin have never made any attempt to sell United Ireland to loyalists or unionist community, and it's nearly if they had a border poll. If they got the border poll, the Secretary of State called the border poll tomorrow, and it was a similar, 51-49. They'd be just be like it or lump it. This is democracy, but you kind of have the thing with Brexit when that's the kind of same line. I think it was 51-49, wasn't it, or 52-48?
52-48, I think.
So, and people are kind of complaining about it. So.
Well, I think that's it, and as a nationalist, I certainly don't subscribe in any way to the 50+1 style of politics, in that we only need to look at, we're obviously approaching the centenary in Northern Ireland, we only need to look at how well it went to have a large minority, put into a situation that they weren't comfortable with, i.e. we had more than 40 years of violence. So even if it is 50+1 and a 51%, I don't think that that's the way to credibly build a new Ireland, a new nation. And that I don't want to scaremonger or anything, but I think we could return to violence, or there could certainly be a lot of political uncertainty. And something else that I absolutely hate is the sectarianism around it too, and that people are talking about. I don't know if you remember Jerry Kelly when he was running for Westminster in North Belfast. Yes, he did the census figures on his election leaflet, and that is sectarianism at its most base form, assuming that because I'm a Catholic I'll vote for United Ireland, and because you're a Protestant you'll vote to remain in the UK. That's completely outrageous, and I think more and more people are, especially in our generation, are identifying as Northern Irish, in that they're feeling affinity to Ireland, they're feeling affinity to Britain Southern and that's their identity, and they'll vote for what makes most sense for them economically. They're not going to vote for, not going to vote for an idea that makes them poorer, or if your taxes have to go up by 5%, you might not be as inclined to vote for United Ireland. So I think we just need to have those arguments on economics and on that sort of issues, as opposed to fighting about the past.
Like, we're driving through Beaver State now, and I was brought up here, and if you went and knocked the doors and mentioned what would your United Ireland look like? Like, they would be, they wouldn't even give you an answer.
No.
It'd be like, non-existent. That's what it would be. And Alex Kane made some points similar to what you had made there about, there's been a lot of scaremongering about Brexit, and people are like, I think Leo Fragger and stuff was saying, violence might come back to Northern Ireland if Brexit kicks in and stuff, which I don't think it would, but you can nearly guarantee that violence will happen again if a border poll, or say we did have that 51-49.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee there's people who would be moved enough or angry enough to take up arms and defend, or whatever reason. I'd say that would bring back violence in Northern Ireland, which is sad to say, but I just feel like we still haven't dealt with the issues of the past.
No.
And we've put a plaster in those, and which is slowly coming off. But something like that, a border poll, and the result of that would be awful.
And the thing is, as well, and I think this is often lost in the argument, is that if the Secretary of State calls a border poll next week, and it's I don't know, putting these figures off the top of my head, but say 45% in favour of Irish unity, 55 against, and obviously the status quo remains.
Yep.
The Secretary of State has to call one every 7 years. So I feel like we're not ready, and I say that as someone who aspires to Irish unity. We're not ready for it now, because once we have it, we're locked into it every 7 years until anything changes. And that could be deeply, deeply destabilising for people. And I do think more and more people just want to get on and get a good job and get their kids into a good school and just have a good quality of life. And these issues aren't high on their agenda.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a wider point to be made about, as a nationalist, I think if Sinn Féin or the party or the group or whatever it may be that are leading the charge for Irish unity, it nearly guarantees that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that unionists don't. I'm just assuming and I'm just thinking, but it seems to me that unionists wouldn't trust many members of Sinn Féin to pour a glass of water for them, let alone build a country for them. And that is historic and everything like that, and the anger is completely justified. And in my view, Sinn Féin have not done enough, or maybe not even done anything to try and build those relations and reach out.
Because the DUP get a lot of hassle, rightfully so, about being so staunchly unionist and everything. But on the flip side of that, Sinn Féin are staunchly nationalist and Republican, and we never, I don't think they've made any real attempts to kind of. We had Martin Muller, and he was like mayor of Belfast and stuff, and he did a lot of good work. But as like a party stance, they haven't put the hand of friendship out, or they're as kind of stuck in their ways as the DUP are in theirs. So I know what you mean, and even having like the debate of the other night when you had somebody who was, I think Tommy McKinney was an IRA hunger striker, straight away people wouldn't go to something like that, because just the fact that somebody was in the IRA, and I think he was, I may be wrong, but I think he was done for murdering, and I think it was like a part-time postman who was in the EDR as well. People like immediately would just blank out anybody's opinions like that. I know working class unionists and loyalists who would just be like, no, I'm not even going to sit in the same room as somebody who was, which I think they're in every right to have that kind of belief, because, you know, I was saying to you earlier about that Pop Goes Northern Ireland documentary, and just seeing the years, you know, 1970, 73, 76, 86 and 1990, the years were that they did it.
Yeah.
And just seeing every single year goes chronologically, and you're just seeing like January 1st somebody's dead, you know, January 5th another person's died, and 90% of these people are, you know, innocent people who were just killed by like cowardly terrorists. Like it's
violence,
just,
and it achieved nothing at all. And if anything, I would go as far as to say the Troubles did more and IRA violence did more to harm the cause of Irish unity than advance it. And I think that until, obviously, we're a post-conflict society, and we need to believe in transformation and that, you know, move on to an extent. But I think we need to stop with the commemorations and that sort of stuff, because it really is, it's incredibly off-putting, and it doesn't give the impression to me anyway, and again, I'm not even a unionist, it doesn't give the impression to me that people are generally sorry or genuinely sorry for what they've done, and also that they wouldn't do it again. And I think until we get to that point, we're just going back and forth in circles, and there's something about letting the old guard and political parties and all sides of the community to leave the stage and bring younger people forward, people who have never been involved in violence, which I think is important. But then again, you know, you have the likes of Mary Lou McDonald, who is obviously from Dublin, is young, has never been involved in IRA violence, and you think that would be a lot better, and in some ways it is, but also if she continually goes to commemorations with Gerry Adams and Bobby Story and people like that, of course it's going to be upsetting for unionism. So
yeah, like you had that Shankill bombing anniversary the other week there, and then there was a commemoration for one of the bombers who died at the time, and you're just thinking, like, in your right mind, you know, just don't go to that. You know, if you're a political representative, and it's the same in the union side as well, you know, you have that Brian Robinson parade that happens every year, and Brian Robinson was killed by, I think he was killed by the army. You know, he was a loyalist, and you still get unionist politicians that'll go and commemorate that. And I think Brian Robinson had killed, I think it was like an IRA member or something. I'm driving, so I don't have Wikipedia at the minute, but it's just, it's very frustrating, and it's even more frustrating when you see young people become as like brainwashed and you know, as staunch as people before, because you know, you watch documentaries and you see the people that died, and then you have other people who are happy enough to romanticize like the killings of the IRA, or you know, that was you know, viable targets, and talking about stuff like that. You know, what the IRA did here, and what loyalist paramilitaries and the British Army and the REC, you know, nobody got out of that with blood in their hands, literally. You know, there's so many obviously factors and different things to why certain, you know, bad stuff happened, but none of it's like you can't really accept any of it. Like, and I across the board, paramilitary killings I'm against. I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, the IRA did this, but you know, UVF killed, you know, 2 innocent people. You know, that tit for tat kind of
it's not helpful.
Tallying up isn't helpful at all.
Because I don't care that, you know, factually, yes, it's right, the IRA killed more civilians, but one death is too many for me, and I think that it would be quite a powerful statement if in the 20th year of the Good Friday Agreement, obviously that anniversary took place in April, if in that anniversary year political leaders from across Ireland joined together and said, never ever ever will violence be used in Irish politics again. Because I was attending an event last night at the US Consulate in Belfast, and Conor Houston, who had been facilitating it,